Paper is a material that has found application in all spheres of human life. Today, it is impossible to imagine our everyday and professional activities without using it, because paper is a carrier of information for many people. It also performs other important functions that a person needs on a daily basis. Progress does not stand still, as we are increasingly resorting to electronic and digital gadgets, but even such storage media cannot take over all the functions of paper. Since ancient times, paper has been widely used in a broad variety of forms and purposes. Paper is knowledge, art, interior, communication, money, packaging material, and much more. Even with the advent of electronic document management, all significant papers have retained their value, whether it's a banknote or any type of certificates, wallpapers in the rooms of a modern house or packaging, both huge boxes for transporting goods and small boxes of juice or milk. In order to publish a book, a great deal of paper should be used. It takes a lot of wood to produce a large amount of paper. 2 tons of wood are used to produce 1 ton of paper. Paper also serves as a packaging material. It can be toilet paper or napkins, among other things. In today's episode of our program, we will talk about how paper is made. As we all know, paper is made of wood. A large-scale paper production has been ongoing since the beginning of the 19th century. Since then, the consumption volume of this material has been growing. In general, paper was first mentioned in the Chinese chronicles of 12 BC. Silk served as the raw material for its making. It was made of defective silkworm cocoons. Later, bamboo stalks, mulberry tree bast, and hemp were used. Manufacturing methods of materials such as papyrus, birch bark, parchment, and others were known to mankind long before the first production descriptions of classical paper appeared. In Europe, paper emerged in the 11th, 12th centuries. It replaced papyrus and parchment, which was too expensive. At first, crushed hemp and linen rags were used for its manufacture. Back in 1719, Réaumur, a French naturalist, entomologist, physicist, and mathematician, suggested that wood could serve as a raw material for paper production. However, the need to use wood arose only at the beginning of the 19th century, when a paper machine was invented, which dramatically increased productivity, as a result of which paper mills began to experience a shortage of raw materials. The production of paper underwent changes with the arrival of new technologies. This was due to new printing methods and the ways of obtaining it. By the middle of the 19th century, the paper-making machine had turned into a complex equipment operating continuously and to a greater extent automatically. In the 20th century, with the onset of the Industrial Revolution and the discovery of cellulose, everything changed. Paper production became a large-scale, highly mechanized industry with a continuous technological flow, powerful thermal power plants, and complex chemical workshops for the production of fibrous, semi-finished products.
Процесс состоит из
The paper-making process involves grinding of paper. A paper mass, the so-called pulp, is produced. Later, it is delivered to the paper-making machine. This bulk goes through pre-cleaning, additives are put, it is bleached or ink mass is removed. Paper can be made of cellulose.
Процесс такой, он состоит из бумагу можно делать как из целлюлозы, это новая бумага, и также из макулатуры.
This is a new kind of paper. It can also be made of waste paper. Both processes exist side by side. At our factory, we manufacture paper for sanitary and hygienic purposes, both from cellulose and waste paper. The factory produces up to 15 tons of finished products per day. The facility has been operating for 6 months. To date, we operate at 50% of our capacity. At the moment, we produce nearly 200 to 250 tons of finished products per month. In general, we intend to reach the volume of 400 tons per month and 5,000 per year. In Kazakhstan, we are second in terms of production. According to statistics, we fulfill about 60% of our local demand for paper and nearly 30% of the demand for cellulose paper, because mostly we use waste paper as raw material. There is statistics stating that in Kazakhstan, every resident uses 4 kilograms of sanitary and hygienic paper per year. Residents of Russia use up to 6 kilograms or so, whereas Europeans consume up to 15 kilograms. So there is a room for growth. Paper is in demand because it's convenient, fast, eco-friendly, degradable, and renewable. In the hydraulic mixer, this is where the paper mass is produced. The kneading takes 40 minutes. In order to receive a finished product, based on my estimates, it takes about an hour and a half for the paper to be ready. The process begins at the collection point where paper is sorted out into certain grades, therefore it is delivered to the plant in a prepared form. Here we sort it once again, load it into machines where it is mixed with steam and water. Only after that it is delivered to the paper-making machine, where the basis is made. The basis is a 600 kilogram large roll. Afterwards, this roll is delivered to the converting machine, where cutting is performed. Paper may be of different types: 2-layer, 3-layer, bleached or not bleached. We may produce paper towels, toilet paper, or napkins. There are specifications and procedures for each type of product that we manufacture for a specific client. The factory produces about 20 kinds of different products. Currently, about 90% of paper that we produce is made of waste paper raw materials, while 10% is cellulose-based, as there is a demand for the below-average segment and cheap paper products. In any case, any recyclable raw material will be cheaper than a virgin raw material, such as wood. It is a very lengthy manufacturing process because large enterprises are located in Russia or elsewhere abroad. In any case, it is costly. For example, we buy raw materials for 90 tenge, and by the end of the process, they cost us as much as 300 tenge, meaning that processing is quite an expensive procedure because electricity and steam are used. Our paper is mostly made of coniferous species.
В Российской Федерации или там, допустим, где-то еще за границей. Поэтому это, да, в любом случае это стоит деньги. Допустим, сырье мы закупаем где-то 90 тенге.
We don't have many of them, so this wood is brought from places with a large forest area, such as the Leningrad and Arkhangelsk oblasts, the Republic of Karelia, the taiga near Syktyvkar. All these places are located in the Russian Federation. At present, we have enough waste paper, and most likely, with the spread of digitalization, paper may be sidelined, and perhaps we will use cellulose more.
Это тоже, но это в основном Российская Федерация. Мы на сегодняшний день, пока так, пока макулатура есть, скорее всего, да, с приходом цифровизации.
As we can see, this trend is gaining momentum. I came back from China a week ago. They're already moving away from waste paper. They mostly use cellulose as raw material. The Chinese companies are producing thinner sheets as well as 2-layer or 3-layer paper, because there is a shortage of waste paper there. We're going to use waste paper as long as we have it.
У нас пока это есть, мы будем использовать.
Paper destroys forests, no matter how dramatic it sounds. Huge forests are being cut down all over the world. Since wood and a lot of water are required for the production, pulp and paper mills are usually located on the banks of large rivers. So it becomes possible to use rivers to raft wood, which serves as the main raw material for production. Researchers have found that paper is mostly used by lawyers, financiers, and officials of various ranks. It is estimated that as many as 17 coniferous trees per year are used by a single paper-consuming employee. 10,000 trees a year are cut down in China for the production of postcards for the holidays. 115 billion pages of paper are turned into waste paper every year around the world due to copiers and printers. For the manufacture of high-grade paper, which is used for printing money and valuable documents, shredded textile scraps are used. In addition, sizing agents, mineral fillers, and dyes are added to the paper to give it special properties.
Это да, это экология, это сохраняем.
We choose to protect the environment and preserve the forests. Efficient use of recyclable materials is a correct way, and we are following this path.
Мы идем по этому пути. Здесь
We take into consideration economy and feasibility. Therefore, we use waste paper. The other line of our factory's operations is the cardboard production.
Наши бумажные фабрики – это картонное производство.
A lot more cardboard paper and packaging is used there. All this paper is processed to obtain cardboard boxes that are used for packing.
Это коробка, которая дальше опять же в нее что-то пакуется.
In ancient times, paper was unbleached, of gray-brown color, and those who were fond of reading damaged their eyesight. As soon as chlorine was discovered in the 18th century, it was industrially used for paper bleaching. It made a difference for the eyesight of avid readers.
20 лет активно занимается производством.
We have been actively involved in manufacturing for 20 years.
В городах, филиалов крупнейших. Также есть.
We have a network of branches in 10 large cities. Also, we have sales offices in Moscow and Omsk.
Казахстанский рынок. Но мы сейчас очень.
Our main sales destination is Kazakhstan. But now we intend to access the Russian market.
Ставки, вот, допустим, инфраструктуру к заводу.
We use the government's support tools such as subsidized rates. Infrastructure such as electricity and water supply were installed at the expense of the state budget. A few days ago, the president visited our plant.
Что при сейчас нынешних.
At the meeting, we said that the current interest rates at the second-tier banks of up to 20% don't make sense.
Ставка, ну это никак не коллерируется.
Our operations most likely will be ineffective and unprofitable compared to Russia, Belarus or Ukraine, not to mention China and Europe, where the interest rate is 2 to 3%. It looked like we were heard.
Ну, вроде были услышаны, я думаю.
I believe that certain changes will occur. In my opinion, expensive projects should be given investments and acceptable rates should be offered. We will work on achieving it.
Будем над этим работать.
At the core of any enterprise, there are people, the staff, who work daily to produce finished products. Alas, there is a personnel shortage in this industry. According to the management, people do not have enough incentive to work at such enterprises.
Кадровый вопрос – это.
The personnel issue is a stumbling block for us because within 5 years a lot of enterprises emerged here. However, no investments were made into the north and its population.
Я считаю, население здесь все-таки нужно.
I think that these issues should be addressed. In the past, during the Soviet Union times, there were north-specific programs that allowed attracting people here. It's been 2 years since we have been managing our own lyceum. We train staff, but still there is a shortage of personnel.
Учим кадры, но все равно дефицит кадров. Мы же еще.
We also offer dual training, meaning that 70% of education takes place at the production site, while 30% is theoretical knowledge. We already know exactly which professionals we need to train.
Разбираемся в людях.
According to statistics, in Kazakhstan very little paper is produced from waste paper. In Europe, this figure reaches 50%, while in Japan, 65% of new paper is made of waste paper.
Ну, экономия должна быть, да, потому что.
Of course, everything should be used in moderation, because in many ways we are a consumer population.
Население потребительское, да.
We tend to overconsume everyday necessities, such as paper or plastic. Therefore, we should be mindful of how much we waste. Our planet may not be able to cope with it.
Наша планета все, наверное, не выдержит. Даже есть такое.
Americans have never used plastic bags because they knew perfectly well that polyethylene is deadly for nature. They used paper because paper decomposes fast. Using plastic was prohibited there.
Его не было.
The world's top paper-producing countries are the ones that consume the most of it. The USA is leading in this list, China is the second, while Japan comes third. By the way, as soon as there is a date and a signature on a piece of paper, it becomes a document. Interesting facts about paper. It turns out that it's very easy to cut yourself with paper because a paper sheet is no thicker than a razor blade, just 100 micromillimeters. In 1991, during the Operation Desert Storm, toilet paper was used to disguise tanks. Paper is not just edible, it has the same energy value as potatoes. Paper is composed of 85% of cellulose, which is a complex carbohydrate. It contains no proteins, but glucose is present there. 240 years ago, Catherine II came up with the idea of using paper in monetary relations. Therefore, by the decree of the Empress, the first paper money came into being. Some experts offer plastic as a replacement for paper, for example as containers. However, even in this case, there are still disputes what is actually more environmentally friendly. Compared to paper, plastic was invented not so long ago. It was invented by the British chemist Alexander Parkes, who made plastic from nitrocellulose, camphor, and alcohol. Polyethylene was invented accidentally as a result of a failed experiment at the end of the 19th century. However, it became widespread as late as in 1930s, and in the 50s it began to be used as food packaging. Modern paper is made of cellulose extracted from valuable wood species. Plastic is produced from oil, gas, and coal refining. Since the beginning of mass production of plastic in the 1950s, more than 8 billion tons of it have been produced. Over 70 years, production has grown from 2 million to more than 400 million tons per year. We use about 1 million plastic bags every minute. Paper consumption is growing every year. 40 years ago, the world's population spent about 170 million tons of paper. To date, its consumption has grown to about 450 million tons. For comparison, a paper bag can be used 2 to 3 times at most, only if it didn't get wet in the rain, nothing spilled, or the weight is small. It shows that plastic is more cost-effective and practical in this regard. The longer a bag is used, the better it is for the environment due to saving resources for the production of a new one. Most types of plastic can be recycled and reused, unlike paper. However, another question arises: how to recycle and dispose of it. When Astana was called the city of flying bags, it was not something we wanted to hear. Plastic or paper? It turns out that there is no definitive and exact winner in this dispute. So what can be offered instead of both? Good old string bags, fabric bags, and sacks are a great alternative to paper and plastic. They do not tear, they last longer, and can be used countless times. For example, instead of paper towels, special reusable washable rags can be used. Another option is bioplastics that can decompose under certain environmental conditions. Much less petroleum products are used for its production compared to regular plastic. However, it has not yet been fully studied whether its decomposition is safe. A newer alternative is the paper of the future that is made of bamboo, recycled waste paper, grass, or straw. Such paper allows using less wood. In addition, 70% less water and 60% less electricity is required for its production compared to conventional paper manufacturing. On top of that, paper prices have been steadily going up in recent years. For instance, in Kazakhstan, the prices of sanitary and hygienic or toilet paper have increased by almost 52% in a year, according to the Bureau of National Statistics. In the regional breakdown, the highest price increase was registered in Astana, 83%, followed by the Atarau, 71.6%, Abay, 69.7%, and Pavlodar, 68.5% regions, as well as Almaty City, 67.2%. The lowest annual price increase was seen in the Kızıldağ region, 13%. In the period between January and December of 2022, 26,800 tons of sanitary and hygienic paper were produced in the country, which is 23.7% less than a year earlier. Prices for various types of paper go up every year. For example, the price for the main raw material for the production of newspapers has been significantly growing every year, except for 2019. In 2022, paper became more expensive by 16.4%, in 2021 by 8.6%, and in 2018 by 28.3%. Experts believe that it has been the reason why over the past 10 years more than a dozen major print media have been shut down in Kazakhstan. Some shifted to electronic formats, while others were not able to cope with unprofitability. We wish you to always deal with the right papers, which are preferably made domestically. Don't forget that our product needs support.